So it is about 6 o'clock p.m. right now. Already getting pretty dark. My hands are pretty dirty right now, and that's because I was working on something. But I'm trying to squeeze in some time to work on these 2 new parts, or install these 2 new parts that I got. Hopefully I can do it today before it gets all dark on me. The clouds are out, so the lighting may not be the best, but I'm going to try and put these 2 parts in today. Let me show you what I got. First part is this radium catch can. 1 catch can for this because it's a 13B. I'm gonna get a little bit in depth with this in a minute. I got a catch can, and I also got this overflow tank as well. Going to make a bracket and put both of these in the car. Hopefully, I am hoping I can do this. I typically take a long time to get this stuff done, but I feel pretty good that I can knock this out today before it gets like really dark. So going back on this catch can, this is from Radium. Like I said, I only got 1 can. Typically for like the S2000, most people have 2 of these. I only need 1. When you are running 2 for the stock one, you have 1 can going to like your PCV valve, and then another one's going to your intake, and then they're both like routed to each other and makes a full loop. I don't need that, mainly because, at least for the part that I got, is this filler neck. I got this filler neck, and this has 3 ports on it, and I ended up hitting up the guys from Elite Rotary, and I had a theory on how these ports would interact with each other. And I asked if 1 port goes to like the PCB in the back, another one goes to the catch can, and then another one would go to like the intake that's over here. I asked them, that is correct. They hit me up and said that is true. That is pretty much how the OEM style goes. So I only need 1 can to make that happen. I'm gonna have the top part fit into atmosphere. We have the overflow tank. It does have this clear tube so I can see how much coolant I have in it. Got this from Smuck. Don't know how to pronounce his name, but I'm pretty sure I'll put it up somewhere. This tank was made in mind for the AP1, AP2 series. Mainly the AP1 that I can think of, because this bracket, which typically mounts to like cruise control, this bracket slides in, and then this nipple goes to like the radiator that sits right here. I don't have that anymore. The idea is to mount it like this. The nipple will go to my radiator cap. That's the plan. I also made this plate as well. My idea for mounting these 2 and actually picking a place on where to put them is the exact same spot as the OEM, at least the overflow tank used to be, and where the radiator and catch can will be if you buy one for like the S2000. I was going to be in this corner. This plate I bent up for it. Only problem I'm having with is that it does not fit. I did measure this from here to here. It's about 2.5 inches. I thought this was 2.5 inches before I started bending it. Turned out to be wrong, so I'm gonna start cutting this down, trimming it a little bit so I can get this to fit in here, and then I can start drilling holes for this and mount it in here. I only have 1 plate. I only got 1 shot to do this. Hopefully I can get this done in 1 shot. I do have some aluminum inside my car too, but I really don't want to use that. I just want to use that metal plate just because it's a lot stronger. I'm gonna find my grinder and get to work. Brackets in. I gotta do a little bit of clearance for this rib nut. I'm gonna just push this part back a little bit, and I do have to line this up. Bracket, I don't know if it's kind of blurry, but it isn't straight. I'm gonna take a grinder wheel and then make a little notch for the rib nut so I can like put this in without having it being a problem, and then I can move on to mounting up these 2 pieces. End up lying to myself. Gonna end up finishing this up tomorrow. I was able to make the bracket. I'm running into an issue. Either one of the 2, either the catch can or the overflow tank, is in the way of one of the end tanks for the intercooler. It's not bad, but I'm kind of disappointed because I was really thinking that I was gonna be able to get away with making this bracket with no issues, but it's like almost every other bracket that I made, and I just have to keep doing some custom stuff. This isn't hard mounted. The bracket isn't hard mounted. Both of the tanks aren't hard mounted. But this is the issue I'm running into. This is how both of these to be laid out, where the catch can is up front and then the overflow tank is behind it. Catch can, no problem. Overflow tank, I am coming, like this is in the way of the end tank. I'm afraid that once the pipes get made, this is going to come into contact and get in the way. And then even if I switch these around, not in the way, but this line going to be in the way. I can get like a 90-degree bend and make this a little bit better. I can like move this off so it can go off to the lines, but I really want it to be mounted like this, which is what I'm going to do tomorrow. Possibly bend this back a little bit further. I do need to keep in mind on how far I can bend this plate back, because my oil cooler lines are coming from there and they're going to be wrapping around and behind this bracket into like the front. I'm going to figure that stuff out tomorrow. I'm going to do some brainstorming, possibly send a picture of how this is. Maybe not today. When this is installed, I'm going to send a picture and see how they look. I'm kind of tired. I got some other stuff to do, so I'll be back tomorrow. Doing some thinking on how to get all this stuff mounted up, and I was going to throw this plate out that I got like years ago. This was for a license plate relocation that I got from a sponsorship, and I was wondering if I can make this work. And doing a little test fit, it can kind of work. I just have to notch this down a little bit, but what I'm trying to do is to get this fit and then mount this plate behind it so I can try to move these two back as I can, just so I can get the clearance. I'm gonna end up cutting this longer piece off first and then notching this part back so I can get this to fit in, and then we'll see if this won't solve the problem that I'm having. Making all the cuts that I needed. I do have to clean this up a little bit because stuff is pretty rough, but it does slide in perfectly, have a little bit of play, which is pretty much what I want. Gotta get some cardboard, poke the holes out for it so I can drill this in. I was thinking about sliding these back a little bit, but because I end up just making a huge cut and maybe probably be all messed up, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to just drill 2 holes. Once I drill those holes in, I'm going to drill some holes in both of these plates so I can clamp them together. Hopefully this should push everything back so you can get enough clearance that I need. Luckily I don't have to make any more bends like this. I just have to make a straight cut off of this metal piece, and then hopefully we should be good. Plate's all cut up, moved everything out. I'm actually gonna start doing this. Every time I make a cut, I'm gonna just get the flapper disc and just smooth it all out, because more often than not, sometimes I do cut myself when I get done cutting the plates. But that's just a little future reminder. Right now, I'm going to start measuring all this stuff up. I was trying to get this stuff done before the sun set, but I got here pretty late. I want to try to get this thing done by tonight. I know I said that yesterday. Today, I mean it. Pretty much got everything laid out that will be needed to get this done. I felt really defeated when the overflow tank and the catch can was coming into contact or in the way of that intake, and I was just not feeling good enough to keep going. After taking a break for a minute, like thinking about it, you know, made up a new plan, a new idea to get this stuff done. So now I feel better, and like I feel like this can be something that be set in place, and I can just keep going on with this build and actually be satisfied and how the mounting points would be for both of these two parts. And look at that. Also found some cardboard. So I just poked some holes in this cardboard, and look where this stuff lines up at. Lines up where the bracket holes are made. So I don't really have to do anything. All I gotta do is just go a little bit further down and then just drill the hole. Fits perfect. I didn't even think it was gonna fit like this, because I pretty much eyeballed it and just used some chalk to kind of mirror the lines at, but that took this took no effort, and I was kind of rushing it too. It took 0 effort to make this work. All set up and whatnot. I was thinking about making a bigger hole for this to try to get this to fit a little bit better, but this is working pretty well. Make a test fit for this, pair this up in the back, and start drilling some holes for this too. Grab the chalk so I can start making my spots so I can start drilling, and hopefully after that should be done with that, and I can start getting into the more fun stuff. Just let it all in. My camera's dying on me, so I don't have too much time, but I was able to make the bracket. Was having a little bit of issues on the drill size, so I kept increasing up the drill bit size until I was actually able to get the holes to fit. Catch can and overflow tank is in place. I have made all the holes that I needed to make so this can work. Still pretty light out. This is my third day working on this now. It is done. Take a look. So here we are. The almost final piece of the bracket. I still have this part on forward to cut, but just wanted to show this off before I make that final cut. But here it is though. So we have the overflow tank. This nipple is going all the way over to the cap, and then when I get my fitting, this is going to go from like probably go upwards and around to the filler neck. And I got a slight space between both cans. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a pretty thin space. Wanted to make sure that both of these won't hit each other. Leveled them both out with this. They are leveled and good to go. That's the, I don't know if you can see the bubble, but that's the overflow tank, and I can't position this one, but take my word for it. That's pretty much leveled as well. So I'm gonna take this bracket back off and start cutting, finalizing this, and then after that this will be done. I'm gonna do a little bit more checking. I don't know if I should cut like this part off too, because I really don't need it. May or may not cut this top part off, but I'm for sure cutting this section all the way off. I don't need that. Made the final cut for the bracket, kept this part right here to try to keep the lines managed. Only two things it needs. One, it needs paint, and then also going to weld up this L bracket for some reinforcement because this is kind of wobbly. But I'm going to do both of those things off camera. Besides paint and reinforcement, this is a finished project.